I'll never forget the exact moment my blood turned cold. It was a breezy March afternoon, and I'd just finished mending the north fence line when a thick, official-looking envelope slid out of my mailbox. I wasn't worried at first. I'd paid my dues, followed the rules, kept my 200 acres exactly as my dad had. Our land was our heritage, a mix of rolling pasture, pine forest, and a pristine stretch of lakefront. My dad used to say, "Land like this is your spine. You protect it or you break." But the letter inside? It wasn't a fee reminder, it was a death sentence for everything my family had built. Notice of property transfer, completed per HOA redevelopment covenant. I blinked, reread it. My jaw tightened. They were telling me my entire 200 acres had been sold, not by me, but by them, for community enhancement. The buyer, some developer outfit I'd never heard of. Price tag, a measly $100,000. That land was worth tens of millions. I called the HOA office immediately. That's when I met Evelyn Marks, HOA president, voice like glass shards, and about as warm as a frozen pond. She said, in her calm, condescending tone, "Mr. Carter, the bylaws allow for redevelopment liens when necessary for the betterment of the community. You defaulted on a special assessment. It's legal." Defaulted? I had receipts for every dime I'd ever paid. I told her that. She chuckled, then hung up. That night I tore through my files. Sure enough, buried in the HOA paperwork was a clause, rewritten last year, giving them the right to seize underutilized land bordering community property for lakefront improvement. No vote from residents, no public notice. And guess whose land was the prime lakefront? Mine, the kicker. That same clause had been signed into effect by Evelyn herself, and 3 board members who all happened to own 2-3 lakefront mansions. The more I dug, the uglier it got. Property records at the courthouse showed this wasn't their first rodeo. In the last 18 months, they'd seized and resold over 500 acres from folks who couldn't fight back. Retirees, widows, people without heirs. Always redevelopment, always ending up in the hands of Evelyn's buddies. I called my friend Daniel, a real estate attorney who'd seen HOA abuse before. After I explained, he whistled low. "Carter, this isn't just shady, it's engineered fraud. They're flipping land into high-value lakefront properties and lining their pockets. But these people, they play dirty." He was right. Within a week, I noticed a black SUV parked near my driveway. Emails started disappearing from my inbox. One night I came home to find my workshop ransacked, my dad's old land surveys shredded, maps gone, nothing else taken. The message was loud and clear, back off, but intimidation only lit the fuse. I doubled down. Through a former board treasurer, a nervous woman named Claire who'd had enough, I got my hands on internal HOA emails. One in particular made my stomach turn. "Carter's land is perfect. He's isolated, no immediate family, unlikely to fight. Push redevelopment notice in newsletter, no direct mail. Fast-track sale." They had targeted me from the start. The next HOA meeting, I walked in with a binder thick as a phone book. Copies of forged notices, property sales, bank transfers, tying the HOA's redevelopment fund directly to Evelyn's mansion renovations. When I stood and laid it all out, the room went dead silent. Evelyn sat there smiling, sipping her water like she was untouchable. But I had just put the first crack in her glass palace. The morning after that meeting, I got served. Defamation lawsuit. Evelyn was coming after me in court, demanding damages that would bury me in debt for the rest of my life. Her legal team? 4 sharp-suited sharks from a high-rise downtown, each billing more per hour than I made in a week. Daniel wasn't shocked. It's a scare tactic. They want to bleed you dry before the truth comes out. But I had the truth, and thanks to those leaked emails, I had proof. During discovery, we subpoenaed HOA financial records. Evelyn fought tooth and nail to block it, but the judge wasn't buying her act. And when those records finally landed on our desk, the entire scheme unraveled. The HOA had taken the $100,000 from selling my land, run it through their redevelopment fund, and funneled it directly into luxury upgrades for board-owned mansions. pools, private docks, imported Italian stone patios. But here's where Evelyn's arrogance became her undoing. Buried in the HOA's own bylaws was something called a clawback provision. It stated that if any community assets were proven to be acquired through fraud, the HOA had the legal right to seize and liquidate them to repay victims. Daniel grinned like a fox. "We can flip this. If we prove fraud, we can legally auction off their homes and give you your land back, plus damages." At the same time, an FBI agent named Ruiz contacted me. An anonymous tip had linked Evelyn's HOA to interstate real estate fraud. Seems my case was just one of many across 3 states, all tied to her shell company, Vista Horizon Development. Within weeks, federal subpoenas were flying. One of Evelyn's own board members, her vice president Mark Holloway, tried to skip town on a one-way ticket to the Caymans. The feds grabbed him at the airport. Facing serious prison time, Mark flipped fast. He spilled everything: how Evelyn handpicked vulnerable property owners, rewrote the covenants in secret meetings, forged notices and fast-tracked sales to developer friends who kicked profits back to the board. The day they raided Evelyn's lakeside mansion, I drove by just in time to see her in handcuffs, still in her silk robe, glaring at me like she could burn holes through my skull. In court, the evidence was a tidal wave. Emails bragging about Carter's land funding the pool house, spreadsheets tracking profits from stolen acreage, bank trails leading to offshore accounts. The judge didn't hesitate. My land was returned in full. I was awarded 7 figures in damages. The clawback provision was triggered. Every mansion purchased or upgraded with stolen funds was seized and put up for public auction. Auction day was poetic. Evelyn's $3 million palace went under the hammer first, fetching $2.7 million. One by one, her board members' lakefront estates followed, totaling over $10 million. Every victim, myself included, got a check. Evelyn was sentenced to 22 years for fraud, racketeering and conspiracy. Mark got 12. The rest of the board? Between 5 and 15 years each. But the best part wasn't the money or even getting my land back. It was standing on the edge of my lake one crisp morning, feeling the same breeze my dad once felt, knowing I'd taken down people who thought they were untouchable. I built something new on that land, the Carter Foundation, a legal aid center for victims of HOA abuse. In the first year, we helped 400 families fight back against overreaching boards. A bronze plaque sits by the water's edge, dedicated to my father. For those robbed by greed, fight back and never let go. The scars are still there, the sleepless nights, the constant paranoia. But when I hear the laughter of kids playing by the lake, or see a family move back onto land they thought was gone forever, I know it was worth every battle. And if you take nothing else from my story, take this: read every clause, keep every receipt, and never ever underestimate what you can do when someone tries to steal what's yours.